morning.
Good morning.
I'm right there. I didn't realize you made copies. That's good. Morning. Where is everybody?
I don't know. There were, what, 6 of us last week?
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody else in the building. Let me check with Chris to see if anybody's online. Yeah, I felt pretty good with that article. Yeah, that was good. Oh, that was my accident. For sure.
No, just the recording.
Just punt it.
No, let's go ahead and do it. You know, that way it's taped, and we'll just it'll probably go faster, but let's go ahead. Happy to do it. Cool. And I was just talking to Chris. I've got the newsletter article done for preparing your home for sale.
Oh, okay, great.
And so he'll probably get that out to everybody today and posted it and everything. And then Caitlin, next week during AHA is going to kind of do the preparing home staging kind of thing
Kind of like her
that she talked about in ILO.
Yeah, perfect.
You know, she did such a good job at that, and I told her that if she's willing to do it, to lead the discussion. And so with the article that I just wrote, that'll go in the newsletter, I think, with that and with her stuff, I think it'll be a pretty good discussion about sort of tying in what we talked about last week and that kind of thing. So Logan and I are doing a one-on-one for you guys. Aren't you lucky? If you join us late, we're doing FSBOs this morning, as we promised we would. I have obviously a sort of different philosophy on FSBOs. You can, I think it's always good. And this is another great example of reminding people about the Leading RE Institute classes, because I'm sure if you went on the Leading RE Institute, there's things on for sale items and things.
Right.
Keeping Current Matters, another good place to look for things. If you Google Keeping Current Matters and then put FSBOs, they do some really good stuff in there, not only talking about how to go after FSBOs, but also sort of the mentality of for sale by owners and why people shouldn't do for sale by owners and that kind of thing. And if you just Google prospecting for sale by owners, there's a lot of good information out there, but I think for the most part, you're going to get information watching this that you wouldn't get anywhere else, because I won't come as any surprise, but for sale by owners, in my mind, it's the same kind of thing. We're going to build rapport, we're going to gain credibility, and we're going to show people we care. And it's that constant theme that we talk about throughout. But for sale by owners, for sure, if you kind of think of it in that way, then it doesn't have to be as you don't have to be scared of them.
Right. And
like we were talking about last week, and when I said I would do FSBOs this week, I used to not quite know how to, when I was an agent, however many years ago, 30-some years ago, when I was going for sale by owners, it was like I never really knew when to start. And it really was, it really kind of paralyzed me, because do I go and knock on the door and have people slam the door in my face because they're FSBO, they don't need a realtor? Do I wait a little bit? Do I write a note first and say I'll come back? And each of those situations were interesting, because sometimes when I waited, all of a sudden there'd be a real estate sign in the yard faster than I thought it would be there. I go, well, shoot, maybe if I engaged them sooner. Hey, good morning. Maybe if I had engaged them sooner,
right,
I would have gotten the opportunity with them, because obviously they got frustrated sooner rather than later. And then other times, I go too early and they tell me that they're for sale by owner and they don't need a realtor. And so I just sort of sat and did some soul searching about how do I go about doing this in a way that I can do, that it's me. And this whole aspect of doing things well and then not being attached to the outcome.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, if I go about doing it in the right way and I end up not getting the business, I don't have to feel bad about it, because I did it as best as I could,
right,
and therefore it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
And so I, even early on, sort of kind of where I lived when I first got in the real estate business, in fact, one of the reasons I got in the real estate business was because I found out I was good at sales, because I'd sold office supplies and furniture in Charlottesville for a while. I found out I was good at sales, but I didn't feel like I was really making a positive difference in people's world every day. Selling a gross of pencils or a desk at a good price and getting it there on time or whatever. And so real estate intrigued me because I felt like I could do both. I was good at sales, but it would allow me to help people make oftentimes what's the biggest financial decision they're going to make.
Exactly.
And so it's what I call the warm fuzzies, that not only was I earning a living for my family, but I was also getting good positive feedback about the fact that I was doing it in the right way and that kind of thing. And even early on, this is going to make sense, I hope, after I finish this, even early on, I decided I was not going to be a hard sell, cold calling, by the numbers type of person. Just wasn't my style. So I had to figure out a different way. And one of the things I liked about real estate and that intrigued me was I was either going to be successful or not. But if I wasn't successful, that was fine, because I didn't want to do it this way. And whereas in other sort of sales type of positions, they tell you got to do this, this, and do this, and do this, and blah, blah, blah. And not that any of those things are bad.
Right,
Just wasn't me.
right. This way you can do it what felt comfortable and right for you.
Exactly. So fast forward now to for sale by owners. I sort of started thinking about it, but how can I go about doing this in a way that I feel comfortable with? And what I decided was I'm going to go after for sale by owners with an attitude of serving them.
Mhm.
And by having an attitude of serving them, and what I mean by that is helping them get their listing sold without a realtor. I could go and knock on their door the very first day. Or if I didn't see it for a week, I could reach out to them and basically, and we'll go through a lot of different things, but basically it was a very easy conversation. And it was whether I called them or whether I knocked on their door, I'd say, my name is Michael Guthrie. I'm with Regency Realtors. Obviously you're trying to sell your house on your own. And I just wanted to stop by and say, I'd be happy to help you in whatever way I can. And the point of that is I'll be happy to help you in whatever way I can, led to, in most situations, either somebody being, frank and saying, well, don't you realize what for sale by owner means? I don't need your help, right? Or what do you mean by helping me in whatever way you can when I'm trying to sell on my own? You can kind of get a different feel for this person's sort of arrogant and obstinate. This person's like, oh, this is interesting. This intrigues me. I'm curious. And what would happen from there is I would say, no, I get it. I get it. I understand that you're trying to sell your house on your own, and I want to help you do that. And what I want to do is I want to just put myself in a position to be a source of information for you as you go about selling your home. Would that be helpful to you? And then again, either the arrogant person says, I don't need your help, thank you very much. And you go, okay, great, thank you. And you leave and you write them a personal note and say, it's really nice to meet you today. I truly meant it. If I can help you in any way, if I can answer any questions, and blah, blah, blah. I hope you'll reach out to me. Well, the other people would say, well, what does that look like? And what it looks like, and probably not at that point when you're knocking on the door, you say, well, what it looks like is I would like to find a time where I could come back to your house and take a look at your home and give you an idea of things to do that would help you get your home sold. Barbara, before you came in, next week, Caitlin is going to lead the discussion in regards to staging and how to prepare your home. And I just finished up the article for our June newsletter on preparing your home for sale, and embedded in that article will be the radio show I did last week where I did my own kind of tips on that. But the point being is, I'd like to set a point, and the person says, well, why don't you come in right now? I said, no, I just wanted to introduce myself today. And I've got other things I need to do. When would be a good time for me to come back? And then you would arrange your appointment. And as I said last week, if you noticed on the sign that it said open Sunday, then maybe what you say is, I see you're holding the house open Sunday from 2 to 4. Would it be okay if I came by about 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon? And the reason 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon is because your hope is that they were there from 2 to 4 and nobody showed up, right? Now, you don't have to, that just happens. And one of the things you can say when you get there is, hey, how'd your open house go? And if they're honest, I said, shoot, I didn't have anybody. Well, that's okay. It takes some time. But anyway, the point being is, I wouldn't go, if I'm knocking on their door and introducing myself, I'm not coming in right then because they're not ready for me and I'm not ready for them. Mm-hmm. And so that you set up an appointment, you get back to the office, you write them a note so that they're going to get a personal note. You can do it a couple days out. You write a note so they get a personal note from you with your card in it before you go to the open house. Before you go to visit them the next time. And then when you go, you'll have already done some homework. If you've had time, you've previewed around them in regards to what they're competing against as it relates to homes for sale and homes sold and that kind of thing. So you have that information already. You don't let them know you have that information already, but you have that information. So when you go through the house, when you knock on the door for the next time and go through the house, excuse me, what you're wanting to do is say, hey, and we talked about this in regards to preparing a home for sale. Hey, let's go outside and let's just start from the street. And what I want you to do is, as I said last week, I want you to close your eyes and open your eyes again, and you're no longer the homeowner, you're the buyer. And I want us to just walk through your home as if you're seeing the house for the first time, as somebody who's interested in buying a house. And then that's what you do. You have a clipboard or legal pad or whatever, and you walk through the house and just point things out that you think they might want to do. After hearing from Caitlin next week, you might even be able to say, I'd take this chair out, it takes up the room, or one of the things I remember Caitlin saying was, in your photography, make sure you're taking those pictures as if you're looking in the room, versus photography where if you take a picture of this glasses there, it could block out something farther away. But the point being is that you've given them some ideas. And all you're doing, again, in the first step is you're building rapport. You're gaining credibility by showing you have some idea of what you're talking about. And you've already begun to show them that you care by a personal note to them and that kind of thing. And the whole point of it is that what you're doing is you're going after the first sale by owner by building a relationship. You're not going and saying, I see you're trying to sell your house or home. That's a dumb idea. You need a realtor like me. When do you want to get started?
Right.
Or you're not going up like Tommy Hopkins, who was a world famous real estate trainer back in the day, where he literally would take the for sale by owner sign out of the yard, have it on the front porch when he knocked on the door, and he'd say, "Hi, my name is Tommy Hopkins. I see that you've got the wrong sign in the yard. This is the one you really want to use if you want to get your house." So he had his sign on the other side of the porch. Some people thought that was funny. Some people thought, well, this guy's got that much, gall, and maybe he's the guy I need to use to do it. He's also the guy who would do open houses in Texas in the middle of summer and give people a half-gallon of ice cream as they were leaving, as a gift. And they said, well, what are we going to do with this? He said, you're going to go home and put it in the freezer because it's too hot for you driving around. You've already found the realtor you want to help you find a house, so you don't have to do any more. Just go home, put it in the freezer, and I'll give you a call later this afternoon, and we'll figure out time. I mean, he was very in your face kind of person, and had a great deal of success, but only certain people could carry that off, me not being one of them. So it's all about, in prospecting for sale by owners, it's all about building a relationship. And the first step is that initial phone call or the initial knocking on the door where you're building that rapport and you're trying to let them know that you really want to help. There's nothing else you're trying to do other than help them get the house sold. And don't be afraid. It usually comes up later, but don't be afraid in that first conversation, or especially when you're walking through the house, when they say, Barb, what's in it for you? Why are you doing this? And the answer is twofold. And I would say, well, the answer is twofold. One is, this is a geographic area that I want to have a great deal of knowledge of. I want to know everything that's on the market, and so that I can advise my clients in the best way I know how, whether it's sellers or whether it's buyers. And oh, by the way, if I was to find a buyer that would be interested in your home, are you paying a commission? And they say, well, yes, we're going to pay a 3% commission, or we're going to pay whatever. Well, great. That's something that's in it for me. That if I can come, now that I've seen your house, and if I can come across somebody who might be interested in buying it, then I'm going to be compensated. But the first reason is that I just really want to know my market. The second reason is that if I have a buyer, I want to be able to show your property if you're willing to let me do that, and you're going to pay me to do it. But the third reason is that if, for whatever reason, your house doesn't sell, and you decide that you're going to list it with a realtor, I would like the opportunity to be one of the realtors that you talk to. And in the Preparing Your Home for Sale article, that'll be in the newsletter, and we'll put on the Roy Wheeler blog and send out to folks. It talks about at the beginning, when you're thinking about putting your house in the market, even if you're thinking about being a for sale by owner, to call 2 or 3 realtors and ask them to come in and give you advice with the straightforwardness of, I'm going to try to sell my house on my own. but I'd love to get your input. And most realtors, I think, would spend an hour with a for sale by owner and give them that input with the hope that at some point, but the interesting thing that is statistically that's interesting about for sale by owners, and one of the reasons I think this technique works, is that a lot of people will contact a for sale by owner the first time. And if that for sale by owner says, I don't need a realtor, I'm not interested in using a realtor, blah, blah, they won't reach out to them again.
Mm-hmm.
About 3 or 4 of the original people that contacted for sale by owner will reach out to them a second time. But by the third time, there's only 2 or 3 realtors left, if that many. And the point being is you're building a relationship and you're having reasons for staying in touch with somebody, slowly but surely, especially the longer the for sale by owner decides to be a for sale by owner, you're the only one left standing. You're the only one that's continue to kind of be in the mix with them. And that's what this whole prospecting technique does, is that one, you're going through the house and you're giving them advice, right? And then what you might do, again, is once you've gone through the house, given them advice, it's great to see you, let's stay in touch. I'll be providing you things, or I'll be reaching out just to see how you're doing. Is that okay? And you get permission that you can follow up. After you doing that, they're going to say, sure, that's great. And maybe what you do is you put in the mail, after you do that, just Google preparing your home for sale. And again, in the article that'll be in our newsletter, I put some links in there about checklists for things to do when getting your house ready for sale. So you Google it, you print it out, and you just mail that in hey, it was great having you show me around your house today. I hope I gave you some good ideas. Hey, here's a little checklist for you of things that you should be doing to make sure the closets look bigger and do this and do that. And all you're doing is it's an added item of value. It's a Buffini technique of providing an item of value. And so they get that. And so, okay, you've knocked on their door, you've called them, they've got a personal note from you, you've now toured their home, now they've given you this information, and then later that week, you reach out to them, and by the way, what's the best way for me to be in touch with you? Can I text you? Can I email you? What's the best? And they tell you and say, well, here's my email address. If you email me with any questions or needing information, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. And so you get that. So later that week, you might reach out to them and say, are you holding an open house this weekend? All right. And they say, well, no, we're not going to do it until next week. We're going to be out of town this weekend, blah, blah. Or they say, yes, great. You know, what I'd like to do, if it's okay, is I would like to put Jay Dominic in touch with you. Jay is with Movement Mortgage. He's a partner with our company. Before you do your open house, you really want to know where interest rates are. And oh, by the way, good news, interest rates have really, come down because of the tariff issues and because of a lot of different things. So that's a good thing in regards to buyers having the motivation to buy right now. What I like to do is have Jay contact you and give you that information, and even maybe provide you a little sheet that you can hand out to buyers that come to your open house. And what that does is it gives people an idea of whether or not they can afford your house or not. Whether it's an FHA loan or maybe it qualifies for USDA rural loan. And what you do is you get Jay to provide 3 or 4 different scenarios: FHA, VHDA, 20% down, whatever the case may be. Provide a sheet like that. And the reason Jay is going to be willing to do that is because even if you never get the listing, he now is working with that for sale by owner, because what you want to tell the for sale by owner, again, giving expertise, gaining credibility, is you want to make sure anybody that comes through your house and is interested in your house can qualify to buy it. So if they're really interested, you want to give them Jay's name and tell them, you don't have to use this lender if you don't want to, but I'd like you to reach out to this lender and have the lender get back to you and to me that you are qualified to buy that house. That's something I'm sure that most other realtors are not offering. And so that's the next thing. And then following up with them after the open house. How did the open house go? Well, we look like we may have
somebody that might be interested, that's great. By the way, if you do get somebody interested and there's not a realtor involved, and again, the things I'm sharing with you, you can put in whatever timeline you want just to see how it goes, but I wouldn't give it all at the same time. You want to,
Stage it.
yeah, you want to trick, what do they call that?
Trickle effect.
Drip, the drip campaign, right? You want the same thing. So after that open house, say, well, we might have somebody interested. Great, did you get them with Jay? Yes, I did. Well, if they are interested and they don't have a realtor, who's going to handle the contract for you? I hadn't thought about that. Oh, okay. Well, let me send you some information about attorneys and settlement companies in the area that we would recommend. There's several of them, and all you have to do is pull up the end of title sheet that we have, and again, either are you going to be at your home this evening? Be happy to stop it by, just so you get another face to face, or I'm happy to stick in the mail, or I can scan an email to you. What's best? And you give them Bill Tucker and Hope Payne and Jeff Early and Paige Williams and whoever on that list with the phone numbers. That's all you have to do is not any work on your part. You're just providing them something that you already have. And hopefully what you're seeing is that that everything that you're doing, you're again building that rapport, you're gaining credibility, you're showing, and they begin to see you as a friend, as somebody who really they can count on. Another thing that you can do is okay, you're holding the house open Sunday. How are you marketing the open house? Well, you might think about putting an ad in the Daily Progress on Sunday. You might also look and see how you can do the best you can in regards to getting it, online, because 85 to 90% of people are starting their search online, and so you want to put yourself in that situation. And what I'll do is I'll send you a couple links to articles about the best type of real estate advertising. Again, that's so easy to do. Just put in best types of real estate advertising and pull up a couple of them and find a couple that look good and send them. So it's not taking a lot of time. And if you're going to really prospect for sale by owners, you start compiling a little library of things in a folder that these are the things I'm going to do. And you might even get to the point where if you find that you're good at it, you create your own little timeline that it reminds you. Oh, I got to reach out to the for sale by owner on Baker Street. Oh, I got to reach out to and this is what I want to offer them next. And you have just a step-by-step sort of situation. Those step-by-steps can change because depending on how fast the relationship grows or the questions that they're asking. But as you compile it, just like everything else, as you compile the information, if they do ask you questions sooner than you're ready, you've already got a library of things that you can send to them. And as I said earlier, Barb, in regards to Leading Real Estate Institute, there are little snippets on handling for sale by owners or pricing or things like that you can watch and get you a tip or whatever to get them. So those are some different things, and then we'll run across some other things I want to remember so that I don't forget. Another really important thing that you can get from for sale by owner that you never get the listing is finding out where they're going. So in that original tour of the house, so obviously you're selling the house. Where are you going? Well, we're gonna buy a new house. Oh, really? Okay. Have you decided where you're going to go yet? Well, no, I haven't. Well, one of the things I can do, if you have any interest, is I can, let me know kind of what you're looking for, and I can provide you some places that I think meet your needs, and would be happy to put you in touch with the new home representative for that community or whatever. And they may at that point say, well, we're not going to use you because we can save money. And the great thing there is, well, actually, we won't. Most of the builders in Charlottesville, the commission has already put into the price, the base price, and therefore, even if you go without a realtor, you're going to get the same price. If you go to the realtor, if you go to the builder and say, I'm not with a realtor, will you give me a better deal? I'm not saying in every situation, but in almost every situation in our marketplace, they're going to tell you no. And there's two reasons for that. One, it's already in the base price, and two, and you don't tell them this, but the new home people don't want that 65% of all homes are sold with a realtor.
Mhm.
So they don't want the realtors to be mad by cutting deals because then you have buyers always going around the barn. And I've talked about this before, but just again, the best way so what do you mean by that? They say, and you say, well, let me just use an example, simple math. Let's say you see a community, it's got 10 lots in it, and they're going to build houses that are $200,000. That'd be great. They'd sell immediately, but just for simple math. Each one of those houses is going to sell for $200,000. You with me? Yes. Okay, great. Well, in a lot of the builders, not all, but most of the builders pay 3% to a buyer agent who brings them a buyer. So 200,000 times 3% is $6,000. And then, so $6,000 times 10 is $60,000. Are you with me? And you just do this on the back of a piece of paper. Just, show it. 60, yeah, I get it. Okay. Now, as I just told you, 65% of all homes sold, new homes sold, have a realtor involved. So let's just round it up and make it 70%. Again, just to make it easy. 60,000 times 70% is $42,000. They go, yeah, okay, great, I get that. Okay, now take 42,000 and divide it by 10. And what happens is the builder has put $4,200 into each of those houses, into their price, because they know that when they sell those 10 houses, 70% of them will sell with a realtor. And so they're going to pay a commission. So they're going to have that already in the base price. And then secondly, because realtors are so involved in the community, the new homes people want to compensate the buyer agent. So in actuality, you're not going to save money by going and doing that. You can go ask, but I think most of them will say no. And so why not let me give you some information? And if there's something that you'd like to see, I'll go with you. It doesn't cost you anything. The builder is going to pay it. So you may end up, even though they're trying to sell their house on their own, you may end up helping them with a new home. If they're moving to another area, then obviously outgoing referral. Oh, so you're moving to Tuscaloosa. That's great. What's your time period? Well, we need to get our house sold and blah, blah, we're downsizing. So we really haven't made a decision yet. Well, the reason I'm asking that is we're part of an organization called Leading Real Estate Companies of the World. We have leading brokers in every marketplace around the country and quite honestly throughout the world. I'm guessing that we probably have 2 or 3 leading brokers in Tuscaloosa. And what I'd like to do, if it's all right with you, is to give your information to a Tuscaloosa broker and have one of their top agents reach out to you about what you're looking for and allow them to help you. Would that be okay? Well, if they don't have anybody, then there's a good chance that, and again, remember like what we talked about in I think it was a business meeting last week. Don't forget that Leading RE also has the city comparisons. So it's another thing you can give them. And oh, by the way, I'll get a realtor from Tuscaloosa to be in touch with you. But in the meantime, I'm going to put together a city-by-city comparison between Charlottesville and Tuscaloosa, so you can see by going to Tuscaloosa, median price of Charlottesville, median income, things to do, blah, blah. And just so you have that information, wouldn't that be helpful? Yeah, that'd be great. So even if nothing ever happens, if you're able to get an outgoing referral, you're going to get some money back when they buy something. If the time of knocking on that door and doing this will have, at least paid off some. The second part of that is that they may say, well, we have already been to Tuscaloosa and we've talked to a couple of realtors, but we haven't made any decisions yet. Or we're working sort of with a realtor, but we really haven't made a decision. That's no problem. What I'd like to do is refer you just like I said, but we'll make sure the agent knows that you're already working with somebody and that this would be a second opinion type of thing. So in case the first person doesn't work out, we'll be very honest about the fact that you may already be working with somebody, but it wouldn't hurt just to see what another realtor might be know about that the first realtor didn't. So would that be okay? And you just get their permission. And if they say no, it doesn't matter because you're still offering them something that would have been helpful to them if they didn't already have that worked out. So again, it all depends on how the relationship growing is happening as to when those kind of conversations start happening. I personally think that where are you going can happen in that first that first tour, because that's just good information to know. And it also, like I said, gives you something to follow up with them with afterwards. The new home thing, it might be, that might be, you want to wait a little bit so that you've gained their trust, right? But the other thing, as it relates to all this, is beginning to get to a place where you've built a relationship, they trust you, and now, but they're still trying to sell their house on their own. Another thing that you can offer them, and I would, be 3 or 4 weeks down the line maybe, but they've done a couple open houses, they're frustrated, they haven't had that many people through, they're going to that Outer Banks for vacation, you know that because you build a relationship with them, that they're telling you stuff. And so what you say is, I got an idea for you. I don't know if you're interested, but I'll run it by you. What's that? You're going to go to the Outer Banks next week. Yes, we are. How about if I hold the house open for you on Sunday while you're gone, or Saturday or Sunday while you're gone? What does that mean? So, well, you've already told me that you'd be willing to pay me a commission if I brought you a buyer. So how about if I take over the open house for you that Sunday? What I'll do is for that day only, and we'll sign something that allows me to do this for that day only. I'll put a road-wheeler sign in the yard, and I'll do an open house for you. And one of the things that I'll do as people come in the door is I will make sure they know that I am representing only the buyer. I'm not representing you. Or I can represent you. Totally up to you. What would happen in that situation is I would represent you for that day. And if somebody came in and wanted to write a contract, I would tell that buyer, yes, I can help you do that, but you need to know I represent the seller, and therefore I can only write the contract. I can give you, you provide ministerial acts, as we talk about, and I'm going to talk about that Thursday in the agency class. But again, ministerial acts. So I'm representing the seller, but I'm providing ministerial acts to the buyer. I'm writing a contract, comps, telling them to get a home inspector, recommending a lender, title company, all this stuff. And what would happen in this, Mr. and Mrs. Bidwell, is that if that happened, I'd represent you, and you will agree to pay me 3% for me to handle that transaction for you. And why not? It's a no-brainer. They've already said that they pay 3% if you brought a buyer. Now you're saying, I'll help you while you're gone. You've built the trust so they're probably not nervous about you being in their home and giving you a key. And then what you do is you get their permission, is you spend the next week furiously marketing that property into the neighborhood. If you're interested in seeing your neighbor's home, using the maximize an open house technique that we use and that's in the roadmap for success, the 15, 20 neighbors, and holding this house open on a Sunday. If you'd like to come by, I'd love to meet you. Move up neighborhood. I'm sending some stuff in there, getting it on Facebook.com boost, that kind of stuff, even to the point of even advertising it in the Roy Wheeler Sunday paper. Open house, this day only, such and such. And what you're doing is you're using it to market yourself to get more business, but you're also providing them a service.
Right.
And the fact that you're willing to do that, again, you're differentiating yourself from anybody else. Nobody else came up with that idea, and yada, yada, yada. So the point being made is after a certain amount of time, they're reaching out to you, asking you questions. You're giving them that information. You're providing them information that they didn't think about. At some point, if their house hasn't sold, they're going to say, we give up, and we're gonna list with a realtor. And in many situations, they're going to say, and we'd like you to do it, because you're the only one that's done all that stuff. They may still say, we're going to interview a couple other people, and you said that's all I asked from the very beginning, is the privilege the opportunity to share with you. Obviously got an idea how I handle things, but to share with you specifically how Roy Wheeler is going to market your house to get it sold. And again, it may only take a couple weeks. It may take several weeks. But if you're doing these types of things, and it's all about serving them, not being attached to the outcome. I'm here to help you. And then you start adding on things that you can do or might be able to help them that could benefit you. But if you just stay with that servant-hearted, how can I help these people? Using the Buffini method of, personal notes behind everything. And here's the other thing. It's another way of helping. The longer it goes, the better chance it is. At some point, when you feel like you've earned the right, you've built their trust. At some point, you say to them, I hope what I've done for you has been helpful. Has it? Yes, it has. Well, that's great. There's something that you can do for me if you're willing. Well, what's that? Well, you have been over these weeks having people come and look at your property. Correct? Right. And in most of those situations, I'm guessing they've ruled your house out. Is that correct? Yes. Would you be willing to provide me their contact information? And what I would do, if you're willing to provide me the contact information of people that have shown your house, what I would do is follow up for you and say, hey, I'm Michael Guthrie. I'm with a Realty company. I've been advising the people over on Lester Drive as they've been trying to sell their house on their own. I'm just checking to see if you still have interest in their property. And if they still have interest in the property, I'm going to come back and tell you that, hey, these people still have interest in your property. You should reach out to them. Mm-hmm. But if they say, no, the house is too small, or it's not the neighborhood we want, or whatever, you now have the opportunity to say, well, the reason I'm calling is that I've been working with these folks. I think they would tell you that I've been helpful to them, and I'd love the opportunity to try to help you buy it. Would that be something you'd be interested in? Is there a time we can get together? So there's this prospect list of people that are looking to buy a home, and one thing about for sale by owners is that oftentimes the people that are looking at those homes don't have an agent. So for sale by owner, they're going to look at that house on their own because they don't think they're going to allow an agent to help them. So there's another place, there's another list of people, and you've built the trust. So you say to them, if they're still interested in your house, I'm going to send them back to you, and tell you to call them because they're still interested. And then another thing that might happen, again, as this goes along, they've already been willing to pay the 3%. When you have the conversation, you've already sent them the attorneys and closing company stuff. At some point, they may even bring it up. They may say, what would you think about if I do find a buyer and they don't have an agent? You managing the transaction and having me be, and letting us pay you 3%. Because when they talk to the attorneys and see how much it's going to cost them to do the contract and those kind of things, all of a sudden, the 3% may not look as bad anymore. And you've built the trust. They like you. They know you know what you're doing. And so what you end up doing is you enter into an agreement with them that says, I'm representing you, sort of a one-time agreement that I'm representing you. Should I provide you a buyer to purchase my home, you agree to do all the stuff for the work and get us to closing, and that I'll pay you 3%. And you might try to go for 4 or 4.5 if you can. I wouldn't do it for less than 3. But you might say to them, I'd be happy to do that, but I want to charge you 4% because, see, I'm going to be doing both sides of the transaction. There's no other agent on the other side. And so there's stuff to be done on both sides, which is more work. But if you can get them handing you a buyer to buy their house, and what you're doing is writing a contract and doing a home inspection and making sure they get a good lender and the loan commitment and all that kind of stuff, then it may be worth doing that for 3%. And the longer that you're in relationship with them, building that credibility and trust, the better chance that is going to happen. And you may broach it with them at some point, just at the right time in the conversation, or they may bring it up. But the point being is just the point I'm trying to make throughout this is by having this sort of attitude and having this sort of technique toward approaching for sale owners, I never had any problem after that just knocking on the door. Because I wasn't there to do anything other than to say, how can I help you? I didn't have any problem picking up the phone and calling and say, hey, this is Michael Guthrie from Regency Realtors. I see you're trying to sell your house on your own. I'm calling to see how I can be of help. And again, what do you mean by that? Well, and you just go into the top. I never had any problem with it again. And sometimes it was one phone call and they just said, no, I'm not interested. Or I'm going to try this for a little bit, but I already have a realtor that I'm going to use. great. I'm still writing them a note, putting a card in it saying, hey, thanks for your time today. If anything should change with other realtor, I'd love the opportunity to chat with you about, your home, whether it's you selling it on your own or listing it. So it may end up being that one phone call or the one door knock, but most times it isn't. It's just the introduction to a new relationship. And as I build that rapport and I gain that credibility, I show people I care, even if I don't get the listing, it's okay because I wasn't attached to the outcome. I did it because I wanted to do it. Now, there are other things that we've already talked about that may come out of it. I may never get the listing. And here's sort of the last thing. People who are for sale by owners are, maybe they've done it before, whatever the case may be, but when they are a for sale by owner, that's all they're thinking about. How am I getting my house sold? What can I do next? Blah, blah. And so what ends up happening is if they're in a workplace or a community group or whatever, a lot of times the conversation is going to get to the fact that, hey, how's it going, Barbara? Get your house sold. I know you're trying to sell on your own. How's it going? Well, it's kind of frustrating. We haven't had many people through. I'm trying to figure out what to do next or whatever. No, I've got, got an interesting person and we're seeing. But anyway, the point being is they have these conversations. And let's just say for the sake of discussion, person walks in, FISBO walks into work one day and says, I got great news. I got a contract in my house last night. And the cool thing is that, there's no realtors. And I've done it, and I'm excited about it, and I think these are, good people, and they're going to qualify, and whatever. And somebody says to them, that's great. We're thinking about, getting ready to sell our house. I'm glad to hear the market's doing okay. Oh, well, you're going to try to sell your house. Oh, I would never sell my house on my own. I just don't have the patience like you do or expertise or whatever. No, I'm going to use a realtor. What's that for someone I'm going to say?
I've got an idea who you could use.
Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you about somebody who was extremely helpful to us in this process. If you're going to talk to a realtor, this is the person I would talk to. And so now you're doing business by referral, right? Or let's just say the house does sell. They get a contract on it and it goes through. Now that's a whole other thing is that they're going to realize what, bucket of rotten apples they got in when they start getting to that situation. The appraisal comes in low or the financing doesn't work or whatever, and they don't have anybody to be in touch with other than you, and you're going to help them in whatever way you can. At the end of the day, let's say it goes to closing. One of the last things I'm going to do is I'm so glad that you got your home sold. I wish you the best in Tuscaloosa or whatever the case may be. I really would love it if you would let people know how helpful I've been to you. If you hear anybody who's looking for a realtor, I would really appreciate you passing my name along and letting them know that you'd be happy to help. They're for sure going to do that. Right. They're for sure going to do that because of what you've done, the way you've cared for them, and that you were consistent. That's the key. You were consistent from the very beginning that I'm here to help you. Outside of anything else, I'm here to help you do what you're trying to accomplish. And if you can accomplish it, it's great. If not, then we can talk about what other steps there might be. So, thoughts. That gave you a lot of information. I think I followed. Talked about outbound referrals. I talked about business relocation information. Business relocation information. That's another place that you. Why are they moving? They're moving because their company just closed here, right? Or their company is downsizing, and I got an early out. Oh, really? What company is that? Well, that may tell you is that there's a place that you might want to go and talk to the human resource people. I understand that you're doing some early retirement stuff and would love the opportunity to talk with people about what that means for them in regards to selling their home, that kind of thing. I mean, just yesterday or a couple days ago in the news, if you didn't notice it, a little added tidbit for the two of you for being here. There's that gaming company, Castle Hill Gaming, and they just announced that they're doing an addition in Albemarle County, and they're going to add 100 employees. And all they do is they build casino machines for Indian reservations.
Oh my God.
And from what I understand, there used to be one out in Greene County, and they moved to Tennessee someplace. But from what I understand, the salaries are pretty decent for people that work there. So you should, think about, ask people that do you know anybody that works for Castleville Gaming Company? Because there's an opportunity. If they're going to be bringing 100 employees in, some of those people are going to need housing, places to live. And that's the kind of thing. Well, we're moving to Tuscaloosa because our company is moving a bunch of people to New York, which Merkel's doing right now. They're doing some things and they're moving some people to New York. And the reason I know that is because a couple friends of ours, Lizzie Dorano and it doesn't matter, Ashley and anyway, just left our church and have moved up to New York to be in that company. So you hear that kind of thing. Well, okay, Merkel, let me see if I can reach out to somebody that knows somebody in HR that I might be able to just go in and offer my services and say, hey, if I can be of help in any way, people needing help with real estate or whatever, let me know. So there's possible business relocation information. Talked about the new homes, other referrals, both from the for sale by owner or the people who have tried to look at that house, but it wasn't for them. And then obviously the FSBO prospect list. So there's gold in them hills, right?
And everything kind of connects, it seems. One thing will lead to another, to another, to another.
Right. And the point being is the connectivity is really important because you don't want to give it all to them at once.
Right.
They don't want it all at once. You want to give it to them when they need it. And you're just providing them things all along. And so there's always something else that you can provide for them. And we've touched on a bunch of things. There are other things that you could do, think about in regards to that, how to market the home, those kind of things. I mean, just what's her name that spoke at the car meeting the other day? Anyway, 100 things to do before you die. You pull things out of that. And say, you should have this when people come to look at your house, especially from out of town. Have a little flyer on your table that all the great things to do in Charlotte, and promoting all the great things. You don't have to buy the book for them, although you could as a little gift. But just pull things out and say, "There's a book, 100 things to do in Charlottesville," or you can Google it and get information and create a flyer. That you can have at your open houses, or you might do some homework in regards to the neighborhood itself and restaurants and things. Hey, I just put this together for you. Some things that I think when I think about the Raintree, the subdivision. Here are some of the amenities around you that I think if you don't know about, you do. Mare Creek Golf Course and Penn Park and restaurants and shopping and Ravenna Trail, all these different things,
right.
And soon to be the center at Belvedere. That'd be another thing that could be close by, and that's just another thing that you're giving them to use in regards to buyers coming to see the house, which hopefully gets them intrigued by, okay, well, I didn't know about this neighborhood. Maybe we consider it more strongly because those are the kind of things that we're looking for. Other thoughts?
About one of those books to give along with a little basket of other Charlottesville things, my renters that are just moving here in Florida.
Oh, great
That's a
idea.
good idea.
Yeah. Got word for us too. I figured there's a lot about Charlottesville.
Where can you get that?
She said you can get them at any of the bookstores.
Oh,
I
okay.
got it from her, but she said Barnes and Noble, Gold Mint, all
Yeah, I think she had them with her that day.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I think she also said you can get them on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're Amazon Prime,
Right.
you can probably go on there
Yeah.
and order and get free delivery and all that kind of stuff. So, other thoughts? Is this helpful? Does it make you feel less stressful about approaching one? I mean, that's really key.
That's the first thing is that a first approach.
Yeah.
That's the.
So the other thing that you might try, and I'm not saying you two need to try, but find somebody to do it
Do
together.
it with you.
Hey, let's do some for sale by owners together. I know Mike Plecker and Bob Hauser have done a little bit of it. But hey, let's do this together. Misery loves company.
Right. That's a good
And
idea.
the Bible talks about 2 is better than 1.
Little
And there's a reason why Jesus sent the disciples out in 2s versus 1, right? So you're going to knock on that door and there's somebody else with you.
Right.
It just is easier. Now you want to make sure that when you do that, you already know kind of what your shtick's going to be. Who's going to be taking care of your Bible? well, I don't carry the Bible or whatever. No, but right, but the point being is, who's going to take the lead on this and maybe take turns? Okay,
Right.
you do this one, I'll do the next. The key to all this is I'm just trying to make it so that you don't not do it because you're scared.
Right.
Because that's what I was. I wasn't scared as much as I just didn't know the timing. When's the right timing for it? In this situation, the right timing is as soon as I see it.
Right.
Because I already have it kind of
I haven't
set.
seen as many around here in Rockford. There were a lot because there were two companies. One was called Rockford for Sale by Owner. And I've been trying to think of the other one. But they had their own website, and a lot of people used them. So a lot of people went on.
Right.
And they had a lot more exposure than normal
Right.
for sale by owners. And the pictures that they took were better than almost anybody's pictures.
So they had their own little support
Yeah.
group, so to speak. They had their own little,
Right, and I haven't seen, one of them was a national thing, but I haven't seen them.
Well, one of the reasons I think Zillow has put a lot of those people out of business.
Yeah.
Because Zillow, they're not going to do the pictures for you, but they allow for sale by owners and that kind of thing. Like right now, I mean, I guess pay attention. There's one over on Rugby Avenue right now as you get off the bypass. There's one on Lester Drive. But the key is, and I don't know, can you go on Zillow and search buy for sale by owner?
I don't think you can. I think you just happen to come, because I've
Yeah.
looked for that before, and I think it's just something when you click from one to the next, you just happen to come across and they'll say for sale.
Yeah. And, but you might look at Craigslist. I mean, oftentimes people will put them there. Obviously the paper, the real estate classified, you'll see them in there as well. But, anyway, hopefully that's helpful and makes you a little less stressful about it.
That's great. Who did you say was that company that's gonna be bringing jobs? Game.
Castle Hill Gaming Company.
Because I think,
The owner's name is Art Watson.
I was gonna say, I know the person that, I mean, I don't know him, but he's a customer of my husband's, and I said, because I know his father, and.
Is that the same Art Watson I'm thinking of?
His son.
His daughter just got married?
Yeah, it's his son.
Okay.
And I said, what does he do? And he said he sells gaming stuff
Right.
to the Indian tribes.
That's
and
right.
Yeah. And I said, and he makes a living at that. So I knew that had to be the case because because he lives here, is bringing that.
They're doing a whole new expansion and adding 100 employees. So
Yeah.
have your husband say, yeah, awesome. All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Good
it.
information.
Yeah.
Where was everybody today?
Yeah, I know. Not even anybody online even, so.
Maybe it's his son. There's son out for a change.